Hello, my name is Bob Brown, and it's my privilege to host this show, which is based on the reality that Westborough is a great town filled with interesting people. Many of them are long-term residents who have so many memories and stories about life in Westborough in days gone past. And so your local cable station, Westborough TV, has initiated this series of programs which are designed to reflect upon life in earlier days and to possibly make suggestions about how we can improve life in this fine town for the future. Well, we're in for a fun time this afternoon on my Westborough story. I've got the opportunity to talk with Bob Sylvester, an old-timer here in Westborough who has some funny stories. He's a man that can really laugh and make other people laugh. He's had a lot of difficulty, as we all have, with bad backs and all sorts of things, but he continues to smile and carry on. So I want to introduce to you, if you don't know him, Bob Sylvester. And ask Bob, how were you born in Westborough? Are you
I was actually born at the old Cushing Hospital in Framingham.
Oh, yeah.
And then a few days later, I landed in Westborough. I think the first place I lived was up across the street from the country club. That's what they say.
You don't remember, huh?
I don't remember that. The only first house I remember being in was, it's still standing today, and it's right behind the donut maker on East Main Street,
yeah.
Robinson Place.
Yeah, I know
There's
that.
a little brown house in the
Right.
back.
Yeah.
And that house, I lived there for up until my father and mother divorced. I still was just a little kid when they divorced. But I remember on the back and the side of the house, he owned land all the way over to Baker Way and on to the woods. And after the woods, it was Cedar Swamp.
Yeah, right.
Had chickens. He worked at Bay City Braziers, and he raised chickens. And I remember as a little kid going down cellar, and they had an incubator. He'd have the eggs in there, and all of a sudden the chicks would be being born. And then he put them on in out in the field with the coops.
Yeah.
And he raised chicken and eggs.
Great.
And I remember one time a rooster landed on my shoulders and started pecking at my head. That's about the only thing I really remember about Robinson Place. They had a little miniature, just a regular Cocker Spaniel dog.
Did you? Yeah.
Called Mimi.
Yeah.
I love that dog.
Had a cocker too. Yeah.
But then they ended up getting divorced.
Oh, too bad.
And that's what happens. And it's terrible because the kids suffer
That's right.
in a divorce.
That's right.
And I ended up on a farm up on Bowman Street. A couple named Elmer and Gertrude Heath.
I remember the name. I didn't know.
They lived just across the street from Harold Newton.
Oh, yeah.
Harold and Gladys, not Gladys. Gladys is the daughter. I think the wife was Annie. And later on, they referred to him as Skunk Newton. Now, where he ever got the word skunk, but when I remember back as a kid, it's a good name for him, Skunk Newton, because he had a farm stand in Ashland.
Oh, well.
And he grew quite a bit, a lot of corn and chickens, few turkeys, and a kid that was living with me at the farm, Louis Frazier. He lived here in town. His sister still lives here in town. He was killed. A car fell on him. He was working under a car. And Louis and I are about the same age. And in the summertime, we'd have to go over to Skunk Newton's house. So I always called him Mr. Newton. I didn't know Skunk at the time. And we'd pick corn.
Yeah.
We go out in the field, and I can't remember. I think Harold gave us 25 cents an hour to pick the corn, and we loaded up a 3/4-ton pickup. Loaded it. We didn't put it in a bag. It was like that, heaped. And then he'd get us in the front, and we'd go to Worcester one day, and then the following way we'd go down to Framingham. And then when we went to Worcester, we'd always go up by Shrewsbury Street, Belmont Hill, 3 decades.
Half would fall out.
And you got 3 stories.
Yeah.
And you have some old Italian lady yelling down there, "I'll take a dozen." And you'd run up.
Yeah.
And then she'd say, "I'll take only half a dozen." And I think we used to get 10 cents an ear. 10 cents a dozen
Yeah, wow.
for that. Oh, and we ran our tails off.
You must have, yeah.
But Harold wouldn't leave Worcester or Framingham until the last ear of corn was out.
Yeah.
He sold every year.
Is that right? That's great.
But I enjoyed it with him, and I remember his wife, Annie, and Gladys was a daughter, and he had another daughter named Virginia. But I got to know Gladys And then there was 2 boys. I don't remember the boys, so they were either gone by the time I got to know Harold.
Yeah.
And Gladys, I remember I put on her funeral there just a few years ago. Married a guy named Maxie Foss. He was a plumber owner of Grafton.
Yeah, I knew Maxie.
And then they had a house way down past the Toll Road Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Because Harold owned all the way down to Ellis.
Yeah.
Bill Ellis had the chicken
That's
farm.
right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I think Maxie and Gladys built a house there.
Yeah.
And then they finally sold it after Annie died, I think it was. I can't remember when Harold died. But I remember, I think I probably did the funeral for Annie. And then after they died, the parents died, Harold and Annie, Gladys and Maxie moved into the homestead. And that was a big house. Oh, they had windows. I would never wash those windows. They had windows all around. That was huge.
Yeah.
But I lived across the street with Elmer and Gertrude Heath, and I stayed there until the early 50s. I remember 1947, I believe they had the big fire in town. Is that when they had the fire?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Where VIAC used to be.
Yeah.
Now they're going to want to put a fire station there. But I remember I was at the Eli Whitney School. I believe I had to be in the 3rd grade. And the kids looking out the window. They burnt my nose. And they finally had to call the school bus to take us all out.
Yeah.
So they heard us, and then the school bus brought us home.
Yeah.
And then I think at that time, old man Rogers property over here where the senior center is, he ran the school bus.
Did he?
And in the wintertime, I remember going to school, cold winter, and he had these things on a suction cup that would defrost there's no heat in the buses that time. You froze your buns off. And it was about like that.
Yeah.
And you looked in there, he'd look in there. I suppose he never got in an accident.
That's right.
But that's how we got to school.
That was his defroster, right? That was his defroster.
That was his defroster.
Right. I used to have one of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had that was I think that the fire at downtown with the hat shop and the tape shop, I believe. I think it was in 47.
They had some big fires in this town, didn't
Oh,
they?
they had a fire over there just past Bowman Street in Upton, a big forest fire.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was about the same time.
Was it?
Yeah. I was at the farm then. And I stayed with Elmer and Gertrude Heath up until the early 50s, I believe. And then my father remarried, and I went to live with him. And the first place that we stayed, I think, was up on Summer Street. 3rd floor. I remember sleeping in the kitchen in a cot. And I could hear that stupid refrigerator off and on all night long. And the guy that owned it, I think, was Jake the Tailor. Now, where he was located downtown, I think by Pendleton's barber shop, down there with the Telegram and Gazette.
Yep.
I think that's where. I remember Jake the Tailor. We stayed there for a while. Then we moved down to the house that the VFW owns today.
Oh, yeah.
Stayed there for a while. And then we went over to, he finally bought a house, my dad. He was in taxi business. He had a good-sized taxi company. He had 3-4 cabs on the road.
Really? Yeah.
And we went over to 10 Whitney Street. He bought off a fellow named Morris Lamb, worked at the state hospital. And boy, the stories that guy could tell. Especially by Charlie by the sea down there, Chauncey. So, but it wasn't a good time of life for me.
No,
because I had a stepmother that I couldn't get along with, and her sister was with us. And it got so bad with my sister, had to move with my mother, and she lived in Worcester. I tolerated her up until 1956, I believe. Still in high school. I graduated in 57, and Dad passed away, hemorrhage, at the age of 46.
Oh, wow.
That's awful early.
Yeah.
Awful early for anybody to die.
That's right.
And I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I wasn't staying at that house one day longer.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs. I remember I had a paper bag, threw some clothes in it, and off I went.
Yeah.
I ended up down with my aunt and uncles in Southborough. Johnny and and in Leptowich. He had a milk business. So I stayed with him, died in March, and I stayed with him until the end of the summer. Because she had worked at Bay State, she brought me to Westborough High School. And then I moved on, lived down a so-called Guineaville. They don't call it that.
Better not.
I think they call it Vintonville now.
That's right.
And the girl in the Historical Commission.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name now. You know who she is.
Chris Allen?
No, was before Chris. Her husband Walter just died a couple, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
She lives up off of West Main Street.
Yeah.
I know her, but
Yeah.
names.
We all at that stage
don't
now.
come.
That's right.
But I lived down there for a while with Mrs. Antonio, Joe Antonio's mother. And I had a room, and I stayed there a few months. Then I ended up with my Meggs on South Street. Everybody knew my Meggs. They all called her my Meggs because of the bowling alley.
Yeah.
She had the bowling alley. Name was Gertrude, and she was like a mother to me.
Good.
I ended up going up there. Then I joined the service. I had a room up there. I remember paying $6 a week. I just had the room. Had to do my laundry. Had to do my own eats. But went in the service at the end of '59.
What branch did you go in?
The Army, and I stayed in the Army for 3 years. Went into Germany. Had a ball. And I remember them calling me Tweety, with Sylvester the cat. So I was called Tweety. I stayed there. I tolerated it. I mean, I was a driver for a big colored colonel. No, he was a major, Major Potter. And he and I were like that.
Great.
And we were in artillery. And the only thing, I had to pick him up early in the morning. I remember in the wintertime, we were in the field called Big Bivouac.
Yeah.
I liked that. Nobody bothers you. Just me and the major.
Yeah.
And he wanted his big thermos of coffee. I had one. And we used to go up and test the forward observers. And he was a nice guy. And I got on to the Army in '62. Came back to my Meg's house. Same room.
Is that right?
She kept it just for 3 years. She
Wow.
didn't let anybody in the room.
Wow.
And she was great. She was a nice person.
That's great.
And I used to have, I had war bonds during, when you go in the Army, you had to buy a war bond.
Sure.
And I remember there was Ray Faniff, Skip Thoy, and myself that joined.
Yeah.
Dickie Tyler was going to join. Dickie Tyler came to us. We got inducted in Roten, Springfield. 3 of us joined. Dickie Tyler chickened out. He said, "You guys are crazy. I'm not going in."
Yeah.
So we stayed together.
Great.
And we had, at one time there, we wanted to come home on leave. Now, I can't remember how much the plane fare was from Germany to Boston.
Yeah.
A few $100.
Sure.
I really didn't have it, but I knew how to scrape it up over there. I got in trouble for being a loan shark. There's always a way of making some money. And I remember writing my mother, "Hey, Ma, send me some war bonds. I need $100 or so." Kept waiting. No money. Come to find out, when I finally come back home, she was spending it.
Oh, geez.
It was terrible. She spent it, everything. So when I came back home, I still had another year or so to go back to Germany. I told my Megs, "You're getting the money." No more to my mother. "You're getting the money." I went back and told her, give the money send it to Gertrude Meggs or my Meggs.
Yeah.
And she did. I was there. She saved me a lot of money.
Sure. Yeah.
Because after we come out of the service, a couple, 3 years later, I married my wife, and I was able to buy a house within a year
Great.
because of Ma.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful person.
That's great.
She used to love the Red Sox. She'd be up there, and she had the line. She followed it.
Did you really?
And then she had the bowling alley,
Yeah.
and I used to help her
Set the pins?
set the pins. I was a pin boy. I remember, I can't even remember, 5, 6 cents a string.
Yeah.
And it was kind of dangerous. I mean, those pins and balls are flying all over.
You can sit off the side and the balls
And then you didn't got beans to set the pins all night long. And then when the telegram Gazette had their tournament. Some of these guys, like the Human Boys, oh, they'd throw that ball down, you'd barely see it. So I started to smarten up. If I saw a pin or a ball go close to me, I'd make believe I got hit.
Yeah.
I'd fall in the pit. That was worth $5 bill.
Industrial accident, yeah.
But then I kind of graduated. Ma would take a couple of nights off a week, and I'd run the alleys.
Great.
But she kept those alleys going good. She didn't take any crap from anybody.
She couldn't.
They came in, and she was the boss.
Yeah.
But everybody loved her.
Sure.
Everybody in town knew her as Mom Eggs.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that her her husband, worked at the Lyman School.
Is that right? Yeah.
At the Lyman School, and you were up there.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't make that connection. That's right.
But I think her husband worked at because she lost her husband real early in life. I never remembered the husband, but she used to tell me that he used to work at the Lyman School.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what he did. He could have done stuff that Cleves and Jackman used to be.
Yeah, well, I think Bob Cleves ran the laundry, and Walter Jackman worked in the discipline line and at the farm. But I think the fellow you're talking about was in the kitchen.
Is that right?
If I'm not mistaken.
And I think that was Mom Eggs' husband.
So. I think I remember the name, yeah.
Because when did the Lyman School go on? In the early 50s, maybe?
Close, you mean?
Hmm?
What was the question? When did
the Lyman School stop?
1972.
Was it that late?
Yeah. January of 1972.
Because I remember at I think 4th of July, they'd have the kids come down.
That's right.
They were all dungarees, white socks,
that's
and
right.
Blue denim shirt.
That's right.
And they'd come in, and they were really disciplined.
Yep.
They stayed there, but they always participated in the 4th of July.
Yep. The town allowed them to do lots of things. I'll never forget the day I was running the school at the time, and we got an offer from, I think it was the Kiwanis Club. They were going to have a circus down at what now is the Speedway. Remember the Speedway?
Yeah.
The track. The circus came in there, and they came to me and said, could you bring some boys down? Would they like to come to the circus? I said, probably would. How many you got? I said, I got about 280. Well, okay, if you can bring them down. So I called the state cops and said, I'm going to take 280 kids down to the Speedway. I have no buses, no way. What I'm going to do is I'm walking down the center strip of Route 9.
No kid, that center strip.
Right in the center strip. And then we're going to go in, and then we're going to come back after the circus is over.
It wasn't that far.
No.
It was less than a mile,
This cop says, you are out of your cotton-picking mind. He said, I'm not sending anybody out. We're going to leave the whole area. If anything happens, it's your fault. I got the kids together, and I said, look, if anybody doesn't feel they can do it on their honor, then tell me, and we'll have something special for you here. But we've got to behave ourselves. We've got to be real gentlemen. We've got to go down without any noise, and we've got to come back, and
right down the center line.
Right, no runaways. Well, those kids did it all the way down and came all the way back, and that night 6 of them ran.
Is that right? 6 ran.
Yeah, that's right.
And now Jackman had to go chase him down.
Yeah.
Jackman used to chase him down.
Walter Ice, we chased him down. We'd blow the fire whistle, tell everybody, $5 a head to catch him.
And 99% of the time, we caught him.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know where they were going to go.
Yeah, we knew exactly what the trails were.
But it was, they had a lot of kids up there.
Oh, yeah. When I started in '59, there was supposed to be 320 kids. That's with the bed capacity. We had 480. Sleeping on the floor.
And that's been there for years and years. I remember the former chief of police has been on TV here.
Yeah.
On some of the buildings.
Glenn Parker.
Glenn Parker.
Yeah.
And he knew a lot of that.
Yes,
stuff.
he did. Yeah. He's
a
really
lot
studied
of
that. He's been a good historian.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes that program around lots of places.
He does.
Yeah.
I'm just a slob that
you're
that knew a lot of stuff about this.
Yes, you did. But you've got a real reputation in this town. What did you do for a living after the farm and the Army?
Well, I was at Bay State Abrasive. I was down there 40 years.
Were you really?
And I was in the shipping department most of the time. And years ago, it was a good place to work, Bob.
Oh, I think it was, yeah.
It was a good place to work, but after a while, I ended up going through 6 different owners.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know what happens if you don't have a union.
Right.
They keep shopping.
Yeah.
As I remember one owner, a fella named Bernie Fanoff, owner Connecticut. He had backers, but they were silent. Nobody knew. But Bernie and I got along good. I really liked Bernie, and many times he'd invite me into the office, would have a cup of coffee, and we'd talk. But he knew that I'm thinking about the union, because it got to the point where they were doing some serious shopping.
Yeah, yeah.
He hauled us into the shipping room one day and said, I can't afford this and need a new roof and blah, blah, blah. I think at that time I had something like 7 weeks vacation. And he opened up and he said, listen, nobody's worth that many weeks vacation. From now on, everybody's down to 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Well, he took 5 weeks. He's in my back pocket stealing money from me.
That's right.
And they're clapping for this guy because he's saying they're going bankrupt, and he's just giving everybody a line.
Yeah.
He never fixed the roof. He ended up selling it.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember talking to Bernie. I said, Bernie, what are you going to do now? You're going to sell this joint. And, oh, no, I'm going to stay on. I said, Bernie, you're not going to stay on. They're going to get rid of you just as fast as you can say your name.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're going to take care of me. Well, they took over. Bernie had to clean his desk home by
He
noontime.
got what you had, right? He chopped.
Chop.
Yeah.
And, but he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Went back, he ended up with a heart attack.
Did he really?
Yeah. But I understand now. I haven't seen him a long time. He bought another business down there.
Did he?
But he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he and I were on the opposite. I'm for the union, and he's fighting me. That's his job. He wasn't going to get the union in there.
Yeah, right.
Well, we never really got the union in. Well, UAW came at the end because that one morning on a Thursday, they took 34 of us and blew us out the door. You're all done. Eliminated your job. But as long as you're an at-will employee, no union,
Yeah, that's right.
do what they want with
nothing to say, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
So
tough.
they didn't even walk us out to the parking lot. And that's usually a rule of any company that gets rid of people.
Yeah.
They walk him outside. They don't want to deal with any lawsuits that they think that could come up. And I just said to them, I said, listen, you haven't heard the end of me because I'm going to sue this place. You're getting rid of us, and it's not right.
Yeah.
Not that many people. And they go, you can't do anything. Well, we finally sued. I managed to keep 34 of us fairly close together. I had the facilities at the Knights of Columbus, and I was a member for years and years, and they let me use it for an hour meeting. And then we found a lawyer on the Framingham that was willing to do it, and the price was right for him. But we tried to keep it going after 2 or 3 years. We lasted about 3 years, and we ended up with $4,000 a piece, which wasn't nothing. But I couldn't keep everybody happy because they had to go get jobs themselves.
Sure.
I can't come to these meetings.
Yeah.
And you're asking for $1 million, Bob. What makes you think you're going to get $1 million? I said, I know I'm not going to get $1 million, but I'm going to get something, I hope.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting $4,000 a piece.
Good.
But that was after Bernie Fanders left. There was another owner after Bernie's.
Was there? Yeah.
Guy from a company from Austria.
Oh, yeah.
A Triolite, something like that.
Yeah. I remember the changes, but I couldn't list the names.
Yeah, there was too many.
Yeah.
There was too many. And they were from Austria. They wanted a foothold in America. And they came in, and they ran it for a couple of years, and the union did come in. The UAW did come in. The rest of the guys saw the handwriting on the wall, but it was too late. They ended up selling the business, and they moved their office over to Detroit, which was the area that they had most of the grinding wheels.
Oh, yeah.
They did with the automotive industry.
Yeah.
But the grinding wheel business kind of floundered because they come up with technology like Norton's today has grown in different areas. They own Certainty Building Products.
Right.
They own a glass bottling place in Milford, I believe. Their ceramics are big, and their diamond products are big. But the grinding wheel business kind of went with the ages, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what happened to Bay State.
But you've done a lot more than be in business or making money for yourself. You've done an awful lot in this town to help people.
Oh, that's something I enjoy doing.
I remember the first time I ever met you, you were doing the banquet for the boys' football team.
At the high school.
Well, you did it at Knights of Columbus.
I did one at the high school too, I believe.
Yeah, but you had a spaghetti dinner or a pasta dinner.
Well, Jan Jebo
Yeah,
was a coach.
yeah. But even before that, you did it.
Oh yeah, I've been fooling around with catering, cooking. 40 years,
Yeah.
25, 30, 40 years.
Yeah,
And it was always something part-time,
yeah.
something that I never learned. I never learned to be a chef. I never went to school. But when I joined the KSC, there was fellas like Arthur Clark, Bob Pond,
Yeah.
Joe Antonio that were in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, hey, can I come in and join you? And you can learn a lot by keeping your mouth shut
Sure,
and your
watching.
eyes open. And they kind of put me under their wing, especially Arthur Clark, that lived up on Ruggles Street. He was a cook at the state hospital.
Was he really?
Arthur, he helped me a lot. Bon Pond was another one. He was a great cook,
Good guy. Yeah,
good cook.
yeah.
You did it his way, though.
Yeah, okay.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember one time we put on Swedish night, and we had salmon, big pieces like that, whole salmon.
Wow.
And I remember we had to cut the heads off because we couldn't get them in the pan. And he kind of poached them
Yeah.
with just lemon. Oh, gosh, were they good.
Well, I love salmon.
Because I remember Jim Hopkins was at the buffet line. He was the one serving the salmon. He'd open up, he'd take the bone right out. The whole thing would come out, and he'd slice it. But Bob was an excellent cook.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. I said, hey, I can make a couple bucks at that.
Yeah.
So I started doing retirement parties at Bay State and did a lot for the school.
Yeah.
And I still cook a little bit down the KSC, but most of the time I like the senior center.
Right.
Like last night I went down and gave him a meatloaf dinner with the mashed potatoes, the string beans.
How much did it cost him?
Yeah, it cost a zip. And believe it or not, there's always 2 or 3 people that complain.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the money back.
That's right.
But we get over 100 people. We do it once a month.
Yeah.
Now July and August will take off. Too hot.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I think January, February, we don't want the people coming out in the bad weather.
Oh, that's right.
So we do about 8 a year.
Good. It's great.
And they come down. Now we got the men's club. We do the men's club breakfast once a month.
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah.
And then we have the town. Elmer invites all the town officials down.
Yeah.
And some of the elderly come down, the old men.
Yeah.
And they sit and they talk to Jim Malloy.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Waldron at the DPW.
Yeah.
And Paul McNulty's down there, the Board of Health. And they have a good time.
That's
and
great.
We put a nice little breakfast on it. It's $2. Where can you go for
Can't
$2?
beat that.
You can't even get a coffee.
That's right.
Just about.
That's right.
And it's something I enjoy. And I have enough fellas that will help me to do this. And they do it the same way. They volunteer. People have to volunteer when we get up to our age. You're doing it, volunteering this.
Oh, you are too.
And I doing it. And that's what I enjoy doing.
Absolutely.
The wife gets bug house once in a while.
That's right.
But that's par for the course.
That's right.
And I enjoy it. And that's how I learned to cook, was through the fellas at Knights of Columbus. And I also started with the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
Way back when. Because I remember when we went to California with the Boy Scouts in 1953. We didn't do too much. I did some cooking out there. I remember going to California. And you were talking about bringing those kids from the Lyman School down and how you're going to do it, and everybody says you're crazy.
That's right.
Well, the Boy Scout Jamboree in 1953 was at Irving's Scout Ranch. At that, before it was a sheep farm.
Is that in California?
In Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, yeah.
And each campsite, the Corps of Engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers came up and they dug 2 latrines, and they say today there's a tree growing in them, and it's a housing development.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Army Corps of Engineers said the Boy Scouts were crazy.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 75,000 of us.
Yeah.
It's either 60 to 75,000 of us coming in for 10 days
Yeah. That's right.
in July or something.
Yeah.
Can't be done.
Yeah.
And they did that. We went out by train,
Great.
and it was quite an experience.
It is. I went to the one at Valley Forge in
That's right. They had jamborees in Valley Forge,
right.
Pennsylvania.
47,000 at that one. But
yeah,
they're remarkable events.
Yeah. And then I went. Then the following year, '54, I went to Philmont Scout Ranch.
Oh yeah, did you really?
And there was Harry Crump, Jimmy Tashin, myself, and there was a couple others, I believe. And then I went on again in '55. I went on as a leader.
Yeah.
So it didn't cost me diddly squat then. The year before, I think it was $175.
Yeah.
But years ago, that's
big money.
Yeah, that was big money. But then again, to spend about a month,
Yeah.
go all the way down to New Mexico, hike,
Yeah.
and then we went by bus.
Yeah.
Every night we stopped off a military installation,
Great.
be it Army or Navy or Marines, whatever it was. They put us up, they feed us supper, gave us a bed, gave us breakfast in the morning, and a box lunch, and we got back on the bus.
Great.
And that's how we went on. But we stopped at a lot of different areas.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a name I'd like to hear you say something about. You mentioned Harry Crump.
Harry Crump was a
Football player?
Football player, a little younger than I am. Good football player. I think he was a fullback.
Yes. Was he a BC and then he went to the Patriots?
He went down to BC. He got a full boat scholarship at BC. And he went down there for 4 years. And I think with Mike Olivac, Patriots, got him to play professional ball with the Patriots. But Harry was a little lazy. He wasn't like the rest. He wasn't a go-getter for the Patriots. I don't know if he lasted. I don't think he lasted 2 seasons.
No, that's right. But it was a short term. But
then again, he was a professional football player with the Patriots.
He put the Westborough on the map there for a while.
And that's right, because I don't think it's been another player.
That's right.
And I don't think there's been. Well, we've had baseball. We've had Halbert. Al Halbert went with the Red Sox until he blew on his arm, I believe.
Right.
But Harry was.
He was it. Yeah.
He was it.
Yeah.
And he did a good job.
Yeah, I liked Harry.
And I think Harry now was living down in Rhode Island or Connecticut. His mother just passed away.
Did she?
She owned a house up on High Street.
Right. Yeah, I remember the house. Yeah.
But Harry was quite a guy.
Yeah.
Harry went to Philmont with me one year.
Did he really?
And Jimmy Tashin.
Yeah.
The year that we went to California, I think it was Donald Young. He's living, I can't remember, maybe on Sturbridge or something. And Walter, my Meggs' grandson, Dick Meggs.
Right.
The three of us to California.
Now, Robert, you've been around, you've had some tough times, but somehow you keep your sense of humor up. You laugh through your injuries and your hurts and your pains. How do you do that?
I don't know. I've had cancer 10, 11 years ago.
Wow.
Take a kidney out. I remember they split me and I opened it wide open.
Wow.
I remember that was after I got the axe down at Bay State.
Oh, is that right?
And then I didn't have health insurance.
Jeez.
Somebody said, "Boy, you were in the military, go to the VA." So the VA cut me and took the kidney out, got rid of the cancer. And that was, I remember 9/11. I was on a gurney in Jamaica Plain Hospital, the VA hospital. And I remember when after that plane hit, and that hospital went berserk.
I bet.
And I went in every day for 30 treatments.
Yeah.
And thank God I got rid of the cancer with just the radiation.
Good for you.
And then I had a boat a year or so ago with cancer up here in my forehead.
Yeah.
But this here was just something they take a knife and scrape it and took some skin over here and threw it back.
Yeah.
But I've had, and the older you get, the more. I was in the hospital 5 times last year with this. Colon, took a foot of colon home because of a large polyp.
Oh, yeah.
Then the 3 back surgery with the spinal stenosis.
Yeah.
And I'm still going.
Yes, you are.
But
yes, and you're still smiling, and you're still happy.
You got it. What are you going to do?
There are a lot of people
you mope around.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people who don't take that way. They just sit there and die.
Yeah, they're going to die.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop.
That's right.
As long as Elmer lets me cook a couple times a month down the senior center, I'm going to do it.
Good for you.
And then I do a few funerals. They come down to KSA Hall. The KSA gives anybody in Westborough, any citizen of Westborough, If the hall is available, they can use the hall.
Yep.
I may be busy doing something else, but if I'm available, I will put on a little spread for you.
Yep.
And I enjoy it because I know most of the people.
Sure. Sure.
And I got the help in the back. Most of the time, it's a wife.
Yeah.
She go bug house because.
She's a hard worker.
Yeah, she is.
I've watched her.
She's out there doing cleaning and stuff like that. I'm out in the hall bulling with anybody to listen to me,
That's
like
right.
your daughter-in-law.
That's right.
We had a heck of a conversation.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that she is Michelson.
Mickelson, yeah.
Mickelson or Michelson?
Well, Mike, I don't know. Michelson, I guess.
Down on High Street or Summer Street Extension. Is that where Herbie lived?
They lived, didn't they live up by the railroad bridge on...
That's the old homestead of
that's
the
where
Highlands.
That's where I remember.
Highland.
Yeah, that's where I remember her being.
Okay. That's right, the mother.
Yeah,
She was a Highland.
yeah.
And I remember even after my mother divorced, they're very friendly with the Highlands. I remember as a little kid going up to the Highlands.
Yeah.
And there was 3 or 4 daughters, and Buddy the boy.
Yeah.
Buddy is about the only one living.
He lives in Chestnut Street.
He lives up on Chestnut Street, retired from DPW
Right.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like I said, I remember them. And then I think it was Lorraine that married Herbie Michelson.
I don't know that. I remember her, but I don't.
Yeah, because when I was talking to your daughter-in-law, gee, we'll get, I said, you son of a gun.
That's right.
And the reason she really wanted to talk to me was because they live in Joe and Gladys Highbury's house.
That's right.
On Ruggles Street.
Right.
I built a wall, a big, huge wall.
Yeah.
And I had a ball up there, especially with Joe. Joe pushed pills all his life. He was
That's
a
right.
pharmacist.
That's right.
He had the town pharmacy.
Yeah.
And then after he got rid of that, he started working at Shattuck's over in Northborough.
Right.
At the age of 75, he wanted this wall. And he said, Bob, you're going to build this wall for me. And he and I went around his property. Beautiful. It was just like being in the state of Maine.
Isn't that a beautiful property?
He had the trees and the shrubs.
Yeah.
Everything was pruned.
Yeah.
And he also had some shrubs that he used to grow.
Right.
I remember going up there and digging 40 arborvitaes when I bought my house on Gary Circle.
Yeah.
$4 a piece. I remember planting them, and then he came down one day. He said, I got a present for you. He gave me a beautiful mountain laurel.
Oh, wow.
But Joe and Gladys were tremendous.
Yes, they were. Great people.
Had the fish pond. My kids were kind of small.
Yeah.
Gladys would take the kids up to the pond, feed them bread, and they wiggle right on the. They were horn pot, I think.
Yeah,
Little horn pot.
Yeah.
Wiggle right onto the water just to get that bread.
Yeah.
And Gladys would always come in at noontime. We'd go in and have something to eat. I remember she had one time, she sliced up thin cucumbers with milk and fresh dill.
Yeah.
I said, I ain't going to eat that stuff, Gladys. That doesn't sound very good to me. It was delicious.
Yeah.
But that was Gladys.
That was Gladys. That was Gladys.
And she could talk.
She-
Oh, my
she-
God, Gladys, as bad as I am. Talk a hungry dog off a meat wagon.
That's right. Yeah.
But they were great people.
Yes, they were.
They're great people.
Yeah.
So I got to go up and see your son's because he's up there now.
Yeah,
I
he
like
is.
to check that wall out.
Yeah. It's still there.
I built a few walls in
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because of back problems. I don't know. But I enjoyed it.
That's right.
You give Italian a stone, he's happy. But I cashed in the stone wall business for cooking.
There you
And
go.
that's a little easier.
That's right.
But I had a good time doing stone walls, especially with Joe and Gladys.
You've lived in this town for a long, long time. It's changed a whole lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you resent about the change? Do you miss the open spaces or?
No, I still think there's still enough open space.
Yeah.
I think, I shouldn't say it, but I get a little discouraged at seeing some of these tree huggers we have in town. But as far as I'm concerned, there's still plenty of growth in this town.
Yeah.
And it's changed. There's no question about it. It's changed a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
As I remember years ago, I don't really remember, but the last time I was here when I was a Grand Marshal on Veterans Day, and I happened to say something about the stockade down at Bay State. They had the old freight house. They brought cattle in. The 2 farms that used the cattle were Harvey's and Aronson. Aronson's Farm was where the high school would
right.
stay.
They got killed. Right?
And there was 3 people up there. I think there was 2 family members and a farmhand that were killed in the '53 tornado.
Right.
And they heard the cattle up through West Main Street, the Aronson, to down South Street. And then I was in, after that interview on TV, John Arnold was up on Belknap.
Yeah.
And he said, "Get over here, boy, I want to talk to you." And what's this stuff here about cattle going up South Street and up West Main? You don't remember that. You're not that old. That's the possibility. You know, you talk to so many people. Yeah. I enjoy talking to elderly, the old people.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden, they're talking this and talking. Sometimes you think, you know it.
You were there, right?
And you were there. And you're not there. Because John, because I got a kick on it, John. I said, "John, what do you know? You lived up in a log cabin on Belknap Street all your life. You never got away from there, and you don't know what happened." Yeah. He started laughing about that. But sometimes you talk about things you think you know.
Sure.
And you think you were there.
Yeah.
You weren't even born.
We all do that. That's right. That's right.
But it's, it changed a lot.
Yeah.
Changed a lot. But it's good. It's good.
Still like the town?
Oh, I love this town.
Yeah.
I'm going to die this town.
Yeah.
I think I think right now the taxes are way too high. And I think the town school department, it got to cut back, I think. We don't have to be number 1. And I think we're far from it now. Mm-hmm. But they want a lot of money. I think our town budget was at $96 million. And I think they're taking 49 of it.
Yeah, I can't give you the numbers, but you're right. It's big.
It's huge.
We're approaching $20 in the tax rate.
It's huge. Yeah. And we need a fire station.
Yeah.
Come on, Bob. You see what it is. Yeah. You've been downstairs. I've been downstairs. Yeah. Most people in Westborough haven't been in the cell at the fire station.
That's right.
It's crumbling.
It is, yeah.
We need a fire station.
Yeah,
and they voted it down. Well, I think they voted it down was a referendum on high taxes. Yeah. That's the reason it got knocked down.
That's right.
And we're going to use it. We're going to get it.
Well, we got to come back. I'm chairman of that committee now, so we're going to be coming back.
We have to get a fire station.
Yeah, we got to come back.
And then the other municipal buildings, of course, they're getting old.
Yeah.
And Jim Malloy presented quite a thing.
Yes, he did.
Quite a thing. Yeah. I mean, there was some things that it's terrible at the town hall.
That's right. We've let it go so long. It's like your own house. If you don't take care of it, it just goes downhill.
The clock tower in the town hall.
It's about fall over.
I'm trying to think of the fellow that's in charge there. Big guy.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't tell you his name.
I can't think of his name right now. In fact, I just saw him yesterday. He was at the dinner last night. Mm-hmm. He's thinking about going up there and covering up with a
tarp.
Blue tarp because it could fall down.
It's leaking like crazy. All our town records are on shelves with tarps on top of them.
But is the town going to spend the money?
It's big bucks, yeah.
It's big bucks.
It's big bucks.
And I'm thinking about selling a house, but then again, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to move out of town. I like this town.
Just wait around a while. Did you see last night at the Selectmen's meeting, the program that was coming in there?
I read it in the paper this morning.
It was interesting. I was there.
Across from the post office.
Right. Sounds like an interesting concept.
Yeah. I don't know if the wife would like the idea of going down there to eat. Hey, she's a heck of a cook. But then again, I don't think you'd have to eat. I think she could do her own cooking.
Well, I think they're going to really encourage you. Every meal is paid for. It's part of your rent.
Yeah.
So it's...
But my wife is a crazy cook.
Is she?
Oh, she cooks and cooks.
Yeah.
In fact, we just dropped off some pastry to Dave and Susan Pickering.
Oh, yeah.
We went up there last Friday. Our grandson went to the junior prom. So there was 18 kids up there getting in this big limousine. And Dave finally came home and said, "All right, Dave, I need a beer." You're not going to have a beer until that limousine leaves.
Yeah.
But I brought some cookies up to the funeral home.
Good.
Dr. Sue.
Yeah.
And I had a good time up there.
Yeah.
And I guess the kids, they all went up to Union Station.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard any repercussions. I guess they kind of behaved themselves.
Good.
So the kids are good in town.
I think so.
Yeah, they're good. There's a good little drug problem. There's been a drug problem for years.
Sure.
You and I, when we were kids, we didn't have the drugs.
No.
We used to go down to Dacey's Diner and steal a bottle of Muscatel or something. Keep the 3 Cam, Kite, Harry down there, and we'd clip a bottle of Muscatel or something.
Yeah.
But that's what we did. We had the booze or the wine,
Yeah.
And the kids today have all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But they're good. They're doing all right.
It's been a great town to raise kids in. I'm
It has.
very pleased to be able to be
It has.
here in
I
this
think
town.
that school department, and I know Mary Ann O'Connor very well, and Jimmy, his husband, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Spend a lot of money up there.
We do.
And we need other things. We need a fire station.
Yep.
We need the town hall fixed up.
Yep. And the police department, too. That's
Yeah.
they're
And
too
it's
cramped.
going to come.
Yes.
They'll get it.
It has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's been great visiting with you.
I enjoyed it.
I appreciate your coming in and being willing to do this and laugh along with life. And
hey, you got to laugh.
yeah, that's right.
And if you sit back and say this hurts or that hurts,
You're an inspiration for me.
My back hurts right now. Your back hurts now, but we got to do it.
Squirming around, right?
That's all. And
right.
we're going to fix someday.
Well, thank you, Bobby.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Thanks for coming.